Right, my name is Frank. I'm originally from Glasgow in Scotland, but I moved very soon after I graduated from Glasgow University to Oxford in England. And there I studied at Oxford University and graduated as a postgraduate in philosophy. So I studied languages at university, my first university, and philosophy and languages at my second university. And after that, I left the UK, went to Switzerland for a year, and then to various other countries in the Middle East to teach English and some other things. And eventually came back to the UK and then moved to Ireland, where I live now. So now I live in Ireland, but I spend a lot of my time in Russia and Ukraine. For 6 years I lived in Kiev, more or less full-time in Kiev, because I was the director of culture of a cultural centre in Kiev. And my responsibilities there were to organise concerts of classical music. Classical music is one of my main interests in life. And so I was a producer of concerts of classical music. I arranged programs for the cultural centre. I created an orchestra, a symphony orchestra in Kiev, which is still operating, and various other cultural things involving film, because my second interest is film, and other things. So 6 years in Kiev, then I returned to Ireland, and only last year I came to Moscow because I was asked to join a film company in Moscow to help them with some new projects that they wanted to make. So I'm now working in Moscow for this Russian film company, and we are trying to make some new films. I'm dealing with them and some other old films that they own. So I'm involved in the film business at the moment in Russia and some other countries. So film. My other interest in life has been aviation, because I'm a private pilot. I own a pilot's license, and I had my own aeroplanes in Oxford when I lived there, Russian aeroplanes actually. And so I had a business buying Russian aeroplanes and selling them in the UK and in America, small aeroplanes. So that was a very important part of my life. I had an accident in my aeroplane, and after that I haven't flown very much, but it was very important for some years. In terms of teaching English, one of my businesses, and I've had several in my life, was a language school in Oxford. I had that for about 8 years. I created the school and was the director of the school for 8 years, and did some teaching, of course, in the school. And I, generally speaking, use traditional British methodology. I prepare students for the main British exams, IELTS, Cambridge exams, and so on and so forth. I'm quite old-fashioned in my way of teaching. I don't really believe in many of the modern methods that have come out in the past 10 years or so. I don't think they're very productive. So I'm a little bit old-fashioned, conservative, but I try to bring a human face to teaching, so I enjoy teaching one-to-one. So nothing very original in terms of methodology. Exams I've mentioned, IELTS and Cambridge are the main exams that I have prepared students for in the past. Experience, well, I have 8 years of experience of being the director of a language school in Oxford, and quite a lot of teaching during that time too. I've also taught English in Ukraine, in Moscow last year, quite a bit. In Switzerland, in other countries, quite a few countries. So I have quite a lot of experience, many years really of experience of teaching English. I also speak Russian reasonably fluently. One of my subjects at university was Russian, so I spent a year of my life in a Russian university as a student, Voronezh University, many years ago. So languages are my thing, really. Hobbies, well, I've mentioned already aviation. That's really a business, or was a business, and a hobby. It's quite important to me. Music is one of the central points of my life. Classical music. I listen to music all the time, continually. And I go to concerts as often as I can. Moscow, of course, is a good place for that. So really music and aviation, I think, are my main interests. Literature I studied at university, of course, and I read a lot. History, politics, all of these things I find stimulating. Business I find less interesting, although I've been a businessman several times in my life, and I'm now involved in business with a film company in Moscow. So I've had 3 or 4 private companies which I've created myself, and I find it interesting up to a point, but business, economics is not my main interest in life. And I think that's enough.